Hello fellow knobheads and beat people. I'm George, the gentleman rocker, and this is the Gadget Gaijin. So today we want to talk about Dublin, and Dublin is a monophonic semi-modular synthesizer. So you have a pre-patched signal flow, but you can, like in a modular, link several things to other things. So you can have some LFOs to change like the filter cutoff or something like that, and really shape your sound a little bit with it. Not like a modular that you can build your whole sound, but you can do a lot of funky stuff with it. So let's dive into the UI. And on the first look, you see the synth page. And this is where you set up your synth, how it's supposed to sound. You have two VCOs. And of course, you can, on VCO 1, shape the waveform a little bit more and choose on which octave it plays. And on VCO 2, you can tune the second VCO to slightly detune it or something like that. Besides that, you have a mixer where you mix VCO 1, VCO 2 and a noise source. Right to this, you come to the voltage controlled filter section where you have cutoff resonance, which is known as peak here, and keyboard amount, which changes the cutoff based on the position on the keyboard. When you play really bright sounds, the filter is open, and if you go down to the lower sounds, it cuts down. Besides that, you have the VCA, the voltage controlled amplifier, and there you have an attack, decay, sustain, release envelope to shape how the sound plays out. Below that, you can change if your keyboard has portamento or how much, and if it plays legato or not. And on the far right side, you've got the master volume, the master drive, which is like a little overdrive, but inside the synths, and a tone shaping knob to further change the sound. And this is the first side. And if you click the button on the top, you come to the other side. And there you come to the patchable stuff. So you have the two modulation generators, and they're both like an LFO, and they're totally the same. So you have a waveform, you can change the amount, can switch between the four waveforms, and control the frequency. And you have got two outs that you can patch over to the patch bay. But there's another one, there's another envelope generator with attack, decay, sustain, and release. So you not only have an ADSR for the amp, but also for whatever you like. Mostly it's patched to the cutoff, but you could, of course, change the pitch with it, which is an also very good known sound. And you can patch your LFOs to whatever you like. You have the shape input for VCO 1. You have the pitch for VCO 1, the pitch for VCO 2, and you can change the frequency of the modulation generator 1 and 2. So you could have modulation generator 1 change the frequency from modulation generator 2 to have a more organic kind of waveform. Or you could, of course, change the envelope generator and patch it to the frequency of one of the LFOs, so that when you start the sound, it modulates faster and goes slower, something like that. Then you can, of course, also use it to change how much of the three sounds, the VCO 1, VCO 2, or noise, is getting into the mix. So you could have an LFO that changes the noise level, for instance. And of course, you can change the cutoff and the gain of the VCA. And with that, you can have some really cool evolving sounds. And I want to show you some examples how I used Dublin in my songs. So the first one is Unseen Scale, which is not released yet, which is in my forthcoming album. And there I use it like a kind of, lead sound. And I basically have a kit lead sound and did patch it that the LFO1 changes the pitch slightly, but really, really slightly. And the second envelope generator goes to the cutoff to have a very pronounced sound. And of course, you can not only use it for lead sounds, but also for bass lines. And let me open another song, which is Untamed Sympathy. And there I use it for really static bass sound, which runs in 8 notes, like the old step sequencers, 8 steps running in 16ths. For this I chose a house bass, and on the patch bay the envelope generator also goes to the cutoff. And actually right now I'm doing the form, which is the February album writing month, and in this 28 days you try to produce 14 songs, demos for songs. And I do a lot of the stuff with Gadget, as it's my most known and fastest workflow. And in my song One Error, I basically use Dublin for a really static note-wise bass line. It's an offbeat, so the bass line plays between the kicks and it's very static, just 2 notes. But I patched the sound, which was a deep bass, used the LFO1 to slightly change the frequency of LFO2, and LFO2 goes to the cutoff. So I have, as I choose a sample and hold for the first one and a triangle wave for the second LFO, so I get a slowly changing sound that changes the speed between the steps. So the sample and hold changes abruptly from one speed to another, and that changes how fast the LFO changes between the highest and the lowest sound. And this goes to the cutoff, so I have a very organic sounding, filter cutoff. It's like recording the whole time, playing with the knob without doing it. And the envelope generator just changes the shape of the sound to give it more color. So it's very organic sounding without recording and automations, stuff like that. It's slightly evolving over time because of the LFOs. So there you have it. Dublin is a really easy to program synthesizer. And if you want to go into synthesis and programming your own synthesizers, it's a really good start, as you have a very strict setup. The 2 LFOs with a noise source running into the filter, running into a VCA, and you have envelopes for everything you need. You can patch it up a little bit, but not too much to get sounds that are not useful. So it's a really good playground to get to know synthesis a little bit. Good for bass lines, lead sounds, and I often use it for synth patch, like pad sounds, something like that, where you can have really cool evolving filter sweeps and something like that. And in the next episode we'll take a look at Miami, which is called a monophonic wobble synthesizer, and it's really exactly that. It's a drum and bass wobble bass sound in a nutshell. So I hope I see you in the next video. Subscribe to the channel if you like this stuff. Put a like on the video and write a comment if you have any questions about Dublin or Miami. But then you have to wait till the next video. I'm George, the Gentleman Rocker. See you later.